All right, so the time is now 6:04 Central Time. We're going to go ahead and get the meeting started here. So I'll call to order the Joint Fire Commission meeting. And we'll start with the confirmation of appropriate meeting notices. Jenny?
Yes.
Thank you. And then tonight's agenda, approval for tonight's agenda.
So
Make
moved.
that motion.
Second.
Motioned by Linda, seconded by Beth to approve tonight's agenda. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Jim, can you hear us?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you.
Yep. You're
Am I
stepping in.
covering, am I covering somebody, John, or am I
Yes.
just extra?
Yeah, Brian is not going to be with us tonight, so you'll be stepping in.
Oh, okay, okay, I approve.
All right. All right, motion is passes. So we've got an agenda. We'll move on to approval of minutes from October 21st, 2020.
I would move approval.
Second.
Motion by Bill, seconded by Teresa to approve the minutes from October 21st to 2020. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion passes. Public participation. Is there anyone on tonight's meeting that would like to speak to the commission on any particular issue?
And if you do want to speak, you're likely on mute, so you'll need to unmute yourself.
All right, hearing none, we'll move on to old business discussion and possible action regarding staffing shortages. I guess this is kind of more of an update to see how things are going, where we're kind of at on the issue. So Chief Rhodes, I'll let you kind of take the horn on this one.
Okay. Hey, good evening, everybody. Thank you for your time this evening. And to report out on staffing issues, yes, we're still suffering some staffing issues. I think it's a critical problem. Just for instance, today, the only thing we can staff right now is an ambulance, and tomorrow we'll only be able to staff an ambulance without an engine. We have about 10 people that really work for us on a part-time basis, on a regular basis, and that's really about it. Once again, our paid on call is minimal, and so we are definitely struggling, and this is definitely a problem. It has not gotten better. That's the end of my report, sir.
Thank you, Chief. Does anybody have any questions for the Chief or things they'd like to add to the discussion point? Go ahead, Linda.
I was just wondering, do we still have the availability to call Janesville in for our staff shortages? Or are we going to be, is this going to take us to our card calls?
So we still would fill in with the Janesville engine when we need to, and we would absolutely do that without a blink of an eye.
Anybody else? Okay, we'll move on to our next item, which is discussion and possible action regarding the consolidation meeting with City with Janesville. I'm not sure who wants to handle this one first, but certainly can discuss this item if there's any further updates regarding the consolidation. Some of that might just be in the addendum, which will be our next item of business, but.
Mr. Chairman, I can speak on it. So yes, the addendum and the recommendation of the short-term plan until we can go to a referendum to decide on what the future of the fire service looks like for Milton Fire is the proposal to move forward with a functional merger to take advantage of each other's strengths and weaknesses. So we probably could talk about that on the next item, sir.
Okay, I think that's where a lot of our conversation is going to lie tonight, is in the addendum. So let's move on to that. If we need to, we can incorporate a little bit of both of those topic points into one. So the next item is the addendum regarding with the City of Janesville. This is supposed to be an MOU, so I guess according to the addendum, it has every municipality listed plus the commission. So it sounds like we'd have to vote on it in our body. Correct me if I'm wrong, Brooke, if that's the case. Each body would have to approve it. So the City of Milton, Town of Milton, Commission, and the Fire Department, the Janesville Fire Department, not the City of Janesville.
That is correct.
Okay. So tonight we'd just be talking about the addendum that was presented. It came out, the most recent update was today, so you should have received that and had times to review it. So we'll kind of start, and Linda, looks like you're ready to go. So go ahead, start us off.
I just had a question about the way that the way the process needs to be. So first, we need to make a recommendation from this committee to each of our own bodies and then have it approved and come back.
Yes.
I would say we would go through the process of recommending, like, go ahead, Brooke.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to, ultimately, you all need to also approve it, but I think it would be most efficient if you recommended and then it went to the governing bodies of the town and the city of Janesville, and then it came back to you for a final approval.
Okay.
So on the addenda itself, let's kind of review it here. There is some language in here that I'm a little concerned about. And the one language piece was on line item, I believe it was 20.
20, yes.
20, it specifically states, let's see here. Each party finds that the intent and broad scope of authority vested in their fire chief facilitates the short-range and long-term consolidation and merger plans of the parties, and that the provisions set forth in this addendum number 1 are of benefit to their respective communities, residents, businesses, and taxpayers. So here, without having any further decision on whether or not the consolidation is going to happen indefinitely, it's insinuating that this is going to happen, that this addendum is a precursor to a full consolidation. And we have not yet, from what I understand, since nothing's been moved or approved, gone through that process of saying, yes, we're going to go in through a consolidation, or we're going to go to a standalone. That discussion was still ongoing. So that line item in there insinuates to me that that is the case. That was the intent, that this agreement would be the start of the consolidation as going forward. So I guess I kind of want to ask for any comments if what you're all thinking about that.
No, I
If
have,
that's the interpretation that you all received.
actually, I've looked this over very thoroughly, and I actually believe that this whole thing is exactly what we have been trying to do. And it's my understanding that this is the reason that we had a joint meeting between the City of Milton and the Township. And I thought that that was what was decided at that meeting. And maybe somebody else can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what started all this.
Go ahead, Bill.
I would read number 20. I have a concern about a different item, but on number 20, I read the word facilitates as meaning not that the consolidation is happening, but that this is a step that would enable us to move in that direction. So I'm not terribly concerned about 20.
Bill, what are you concerned about? Tell me.
The one that I'm concerned about, and I want to preface this by saying, to Ernie, this is not personal at all. It wouldn't matter if Mahatma Gandhi was the fire chief. I'd be raising the issue on number 10. Number 10 looks to me to be virtually unlimited. And the one that worries me the most is the one that talks about management and control, structuring and finances of the Milton Fire Department. I'd be comfortable with it if it were somehow limited in terms of within the scope of the approved budget, within the, if there were some limitation there. But my concern is that the way that I read it anyway, whoever was fire chief could, enter into contracts, decide to do things in terms of finances that were beyond the approved budgets, for that matter, by agreeing to a contract, for instance.
So Bill, this is Ernie. So I think that's a really good catch. Yeah, I think within the scope of the budget is extremely appropriate. This item was, or this line wasn't in there to just have 100% authority to go over budget or anything. I think it's more based on the operational level. Like if I could move a line item to here, for instance, COVID, right? If we spend, if we go over the line item of like PPE, then I could move that appropriately to do that. So yeah, I would not, nor would I even ask for that authority to do that, because I think that's vested in the elected officials in the commission.
Well, and I think that when it says finances of, I mean, we can change the wording a bit, but that means that's the budget. You've given them a budget. He gets to work within the finances of the Milton Fire Department. He doesn't get to expand it or contract it.
No.
The finances are what you provide.
Well, it says control the structuring and finances of the Milton Fire Department.
Right. But the finances are what you tell them the finances are. We can change the word to budget if that makes you feel better, but that doesn't, I mean, it's whatever you guys feel comfortable with. The intent was that he can deal with the budget as provided by the governing bodies. That was the intent. So if I need to change some wording, I can absolutely do that.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that intent.
Right.
If we're going to do this, then the chief has to have authority to do stuff.
Right.
To actually run the show. But at the same time, the financial one, somehow the words that limit that would make me more comfortable.
We can put something in like, sorry, I'm sorry, Teresa, go ahead.
And as Bill had pointed out before this discussion, sometimes the wording does change how you view things. Because in addition to this one, the number 10, where it says possess all management and control of all operations, that wording stands out, as well as the other one he had talked about before, number 12, where it says all final authority to all management, operational equipment, etc. And in reality, the chief would not have final authority, whether it's Ernie or someone else or anyone. And that I wouldn't want anyone to get the wrong perception that is the final authority.
Well, I guess I think that he does have final authority within the bounds of, I guess I can couch a different way, but who do you think has final authority?
Me, no. But ultimately, in the midst of an emergency, for example, if he decided to pull engines and so forth,
right?
But to sell an engine or do something, that he does not have that final authority. That would be, or purchase a new one or do something. We would have to meet as a commission to make those decisions.
And Teresa, so to dovetail on what you're saying, it's maybe not even so much of what is written here, but what is not written. Because
Okay.
we are completely, the commission is not mentioned whatsoever as to what our role would remain as. And so I think that that's a significant portion of what's missing in this document.
Yeah.
Well, this
And
is an
so
addendum,
it's
so we
more the
haven't,
word of final authority that lost it here. And I don't mean to make any negative comments, but you're right. Somehow that parameter got lost.
John's point is a good one, though. The fact that this is an addendum, so in order to read this fully, the original MOU is also part of this, part and parcel.
Agreed, but it's not evident, while it says it's an addendum, that document should also be part of this, I believe, so that it's interspersed and maybe designated in a different color or something like that for us so that we can read it in its entirety.
Well, but it does say that. It says that this addendum, if not expressly changing anything within the original document controls. So I guess I don't know how you expect, when you say intersperse, what does that mean? I mean, this is a written document amending the original agreement. And it says exactly that.
Yeah, it just should be attached, I guess.
Well, okay.
that would have been on me. I could have sent out the original document. I didn't think about that. I apologize. There was the original memorandum. This is in addition to. So anything that is expressed in here supersedes what's in the original document, but anything that resides in the original document not expressed in this document still remains, if I'm saying that correct, Brooke.
That is correct, yes.
This addendum is to replace anything that is specifically addressed on each line item in the original document. If it's not stated in this document, but it is in the original still stands. So we're still talking, quite a bit of information is still in the original document regarding the commission and how the operations between the fire department and the commission work. And if that's something people like, I can send that out again if you don't already have a copy of it. But I think there's still very good points regarding the budget. So that'd be point 10, point 12. And then I was still concerned about point 20 not being clear on what the direction is. I mean, from what I understand, this is operationally, I think it's very important that the chief have control over operational assets, because on a day-to-day basis, he can't be coming back to the commission for things that should have been taken care of 2 months ago because he's waiting for a meeting to happen so that we can help make those decisions. Well, there's some things that we don't need to be involved in the operations of the department, and there are other things we should be involved in. And I guess drawing that line and expressing what those things are would be beneficial. Go ahead, Linda.
Don't you think that that's exactly what it is being said in item number 12? Because this is exactly operational merging, equipment sharing, scheduling, personnel structuring. And you're looking at 20. I feel like written
Well,
up.
Bill had mentioned 10 and 12 about concerning the finances of the department and how those are handled and who has control of those financial obligations. Is the budget, for example. If the department can go over budget and then come back and say, hey, we went over budget, now we need X amount of dollars, versus, hey, you have a budget, work within the budget. If you need additional funds, you have to come to the commission regarding those additional expenses, which I'm guessing is the intent of the clause there, but maybe it wasn't clearly expressed in the way that we're used to seeing it.
And maybe where you were talking about on 10, maybe it just needs to be clarified, structuring and finances with the commission or with the finance director. Why don't we just put it there?
Yeah, I mean, it's not that we need to know everything. We don't need to. It's just to make sure that, like you said, with the finance director or something, to make sure that, if it affects our budget or something, someone should at least know that it's coming down the pike and we have the money for it or something. But yes, it's not that we all have to approve it or something. We just
Yeah.
need to know that the balance is there, and we aren't coming up in the red and not knowing about it. So,
Right. Well, we do have, I don't know what we consider Dan to be as a position on this commission. I don't know if he's considered our finance assistant or what.
The city's the fiscal agent.
Okay, so as long as the fiscal agent is listed in some way, shape, or form, I think that that should satisfy them.
And I can do that. I mean, the intent never was for the chief to just run roughshod over anyone's budget. The chief was for him to be able to freely allocate what you guys tell him his budget is.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think I think we understand that, and you know, it's just that this is a legal document, and
Sure.
we want to make sure that it has
future.
the appropriate.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Somebody else will be sitting here.
Right, yep. Understandable.
Jim, did you have a chance to review the document at all?
Yeah, I've been reviewing it, John. It's very complicated, and none of us are lawyers except for the lady that's speaking. But I do believe that the fire chief should have total control as long as he's within the fire commission's budget.
And I can certainly modify these sections. And I actually modified number 20 or paragraph 20 after emailing with John a little bit. So let me kind of rein those three. So I'm looking at number 10, number 12, and number 20. Those are the issues as I understand them.
Yep, that's what I got.
That covers
Okay.
it for me. Yep.
Okay, then let me kind of change the wording so it's understandable that chief works in the budget and he speaks with the finance director and he's kind of beholden to him. And then I can get that to you guys.
Great.
So any other discussion on the document?
Mr. Chairman, this is Ernie. I just want to thank Brooke for all her help. She's been a pleasure to work with, and her knowledge has been really good. So, Brooke, thank you very much.
Thanks, chief.
Mhm.
thank you.
I think Linda's got a question.
I was just wondering, since we all know what we're looking for, can John oversee this last copy and sign? Or do we all need to, or does it need to come back to us?
Not necessarily. If you all give John the authority to oversee and approve the revisions that you've discussed tonight, the motion could be that you approve the addendum as will be modified pursuant to the discussion at tonight's meeting. And then John and Chief and I can fix it, and then we'll get you the final draft.
And how about, if we plan to do some type of performance review in
6 months or.
6 months? Yeah, then we can make sure that this is working for
Yep.
Ernie as well as
Absolutely.
for the commission.
This, it says right in there, this can be modified by a written instrument, signed by all parties. So this is always, as I like to say, it's a living document.
Sure.
So we fix it as we see fit.
Right.
I just have a quick question. Mayor Welch,
I can't hear you, Anissa.
can you hear me now?
A little better.
Let me try this.
There you
Yeah,
you're
that's
good
good.
there.
There you go.
Ta-da! Okay. When would you like this to be passed by the municipalities? Like, are we looking to have this on a December meeting, or what is the time schedule?
I think having it on the December meeting would be appropriate.
Yeah, I just need to know. I mean, we can work as quickly as you need us to work, so.
Mhm. Okay, so then can we just go ahead and take this back to, can we make the recommendation that once John has reviewed these changes, that we can go back to our municipalities and put that on the agenda, and you will send us the original, you will send us the document in its form? Is everybody comfortable with that? I'm just thinking otherwise we would maybe have to have another meeting, and I don't know.
No, that would be fine with me.
It's fine with me as well.
I would like to real quick talk about, we have items in the addendum that, I mean, it's pretty extensive. There's quite a few items. And, you know, having the new verbiage in there, maybe it'll change the way people see it, maybe not. But I would feel most comfortable if we're approving a document at this body level, that we have the document solidified. This is what we're presenting to our municipalities, and going forward, that this is the signed document. That's just me, because I wouldn't want something to be verbiage change and maybe it still be different than what was anticipated, just to ensure that it is your intent as a commission. This is going forward to the next level to be approved if it is approved. So I would feel most comfortable having those changes made and then coming back and going through the process at that point to see if anything else changes the view of the agreement.
John, how about having like you and then one of the 3 city council members review it before it's brought forth to each of the individual bodies?
I think that would be okay too, just to have some a little input to ensure that the agreement is inclusive of those things that were asked of the commission.
Maybe Teresa, would you do that?
Bill could do it.
Now, does this address anything? No, I don't see anything like we talked about the commission itself. So the role of the commission, Brooke, has not changed. The only thing that is really changing is the way the operational measures are used in the department. So the chief's overview and oversight over financial management, over hiring, the structure, so staffing models, that would be discretionary to the fire chief, right?
That is correct, and I will double check with the original agreement and let you all know, but yes, this addendum just is an essentially a command staff merging. That's what it is.
Right.
We already have that.
Well, partially, yes, but a lot of those decisions,
but we've always
models have to go through.
We've always had our chief do these things, is what
yes. Under most circumstances, yes, he's already doing some of these. They're just being formalized. In other parts, it's just like he said, moving money from one line item to another line item because he's over in one account, under in another account, and you know, at the end of the year, it'll be a wash. Like, we don't always need to hear that, as long as the budget is being used efficiently and is being used appropriately. That's mostly what my concern is. But the capital expenditures is where I get a little concerned. If we have major capital expenses that aren't scheduled, that come up, that are purchased, and you know, if something like that were to happen, that would still need to be expressly stated. Brooke, I would recommend putting in one of the line items, capital expenditures, on its own line item. That would have to go for the commission, because capital expenses have traditionally been a commission focus when that happens, when we allocate funding for it.
I will do that.
Can you define
Does everybody agree on
capital?
that?
Can you define a dollar amount on that,
But
John?
don't you have a capital?
Anything over a certain dollar amount, I would say anything over 10,000 for sure.
Okay. Chief, are you
fair?
Chief, are you comfortable with that?
I
Just
am.
off the top of your head?
I would also like to see the commission approve a capital improvement plan based on a 5-year basis, that we would show what it looks like 5 years out from the first year to the other. So I think we should, I don't know if we necessarily need to add that to the addendum, but I think that's something we should do going forward, so everybody has transparency on what the needs of the fire department are from a capital perspective.
Well, I think I'm sorry, Beth, go ahead.
It wasn't me.
Oh, Linda,
Okay.
go ahead, Linda.
Sorry,
Um,
Linda.
I was going to say, I think Anissa was trying to say something, but I couldn't hear her very well.
The only thing I was talking about is that you have capital included in your budget when you approve it, right?
Correct. That's for scheduled items within budget.
So,
Anything
yeah, so you're
additional.
talking about if it's something that comes outside of the budget, just to be clear.
Well, yes, anything outside the budget, but let's say an item was going to be purchased over $10,000. I think the commission should know about that as a capital expense that's being purchased, and to ensure that even though, let's say like an ambulance, for example, a $200,000 ambulance, maybe it's within budget. We should know about that, even if it's within budget, because
Oh,
it's a
I'd
major
hope to God
expense.
he'd budget it,
Well,
right? I mean, I can't imagine
So-
any purchase that you wouldn't budget to that degree, I guess.
but
I just
operational
don't wanna
expenses
be
are different.
overly restrictive and just obnoxious, I guess. I'm not saying you're obnoxious. I'm just saying, like, let's be reasonable.
So here's a great example. I can spend $10,000 right now on N95 masks for PPE for our people, right? And so these last about 30 minutes when they're available, and you have to execute to get those. If I have to wait for a commission meeting to spend $10,000 on PPE, I think that would be a fail. Now, when it comes to capital items like equipment that are planned for and budgeted for, I think as long as it's within the budget and it's in that line item, I should be able to do that. I think if it's going to come out of the capital budget, but from a different, let's say a different piece of equipment, let's say we saved $30,000 on purchasing a new engine, and we wanted to buy some Swiftwater rescue suits for $10,000, and they weren't in the capital improvement plan, then I could see going to the commission and go, hey, we've got this surplus of funding. I would like to take that and buy these Swiftwater suits. But I think from a daily perspective of PPE, operationally, equipment, repairs, you can drop $20,000 on repair of an engine in a heartbeat. I think that would handcuff the fire department. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense, but a lot of those are operational expenses. When we're talking about PPE and equipment, that's part of your operational budget. Capital is something that's permanent equipment, that's fixtures, that is things that are attached to the property, things that you're not going away. So your disposable pieces of equipment and apparatus that you're going to use that are, like you said, disposable, that would fall within your operational budget as part of your normal expenses. So I'm not so concerned about that.
Okay.
I'm more concerned about the one-time purchases that you're making that, if anything, is just making sure that we understand that we are purchasing a large dollar amount, and to ensure that that money is available. If that's something that we have to budget for in the next year, or is that something that we're approving ahead of time? Is it for 2022's budget and we're approving it now and then allocating the funds at that time? That's more so what I'm concerned about. Not like, oh yeah, we're going to buy an ambulance in 2021. We require the money, and now we're going to have it approved after we already have the money allocated. Not necessarily. I'm kind of backtracking a little bit. We're approving the expense and then allocating the funds. That's kind of more what I'm referring to.
Just as a point of order here, on our original MOU, page 7, item 21, does discuss the capital expenditures. But it does say in here also that the fire chief shall make all management, direction, and use decisions as to the acquisition, maintenance, repair, replacement, and use of all rolling stock, buildings, fixtures, equipment, and fire facilities.
Mm-hmm.
That's already in the MOU, and admittedly, I did not vote on this. I was not on the board in 2017, but it is in there already.
We have always allowed the fire chief to do this for as long as I have been working on this commission. It had to go before the commission because we are responsible for the budget. And actually, the way that we are working
Truly though, Linda, it doesn't say that he has to put it before the board. That's not the way that it's written, he or she, whomever that person is.
But if it's a capital expense and it hasn't been planned, then that means that, unfortunately, that means that maybe we're not keeping up with our equipment.
Well, certainly this addendum can modify the original agreement. And if the commission wishes the chief to come before the commission to approve capital expenditures over a certain amount, that can certainly be added to the addendum. And I can speak with Chief more about that. But it sounds like that's where you're going with this.
I don't want to tie the hands of the chief in an emergency situation, and I don't think that I have ever seen a case in this department where anything has come up suddenly that we have not been aware of. We always find out what is going on. And we always get a monthly report, and we've always gotten emails if anything has come up suddenly.
Right, but a capital expenditure is not an emergency. A capital expenditure is a fire truck,
Right.
an ambulance. So a capital expenditure should never be an emergency.
Right.
So it should be something that is easily brought before the commission to approve or disapprove. Am I wrong, Chief? You're muted.
No, you're correct. You're spot
Okay.
on.
Okay. All right. I can certainly put some verbiage in the agreement about that. Absolutely. That's not a problem. I mean, I understand the commission's concern about its budget and not having the chief run roughshod over it. I know he won't, but I can understand that concern, and we want to put that in writing.
Absolutely, and this is not an agreement that is for the existing chief, because I know Chief Rhodes has been doing a very good job with the budget and trying to stay within budget, but we don't know what the future holds for,
Right.
20, 30, 40 years from now. This agreement potentially could be going on for, a chief or two or three from the future, and we don't know how the management styles and techniques of that chief are going to be. So we're just trying to cover the bases of the future in the same light as we would now.
Absolutely. So just so I'm clear, I'm going to look at 10, 12, and 20, and then just make sure that any capital expenditures are brought before the commission. I'm going to modify the addendum, and then I'll get it back to the commission. Is that are those my marching orders?
That's what I would recommend, so that we have a very clear and concise document that expresses the changes made here tonight, and then
Perfect.
making sure it fits well within the original document. Do you have the original document, Brooke?
Yes, I do. Yep.
Okay, perfect. So if that's okay with the commission, then we'll take no action on this, and we'll have it brought back next meeting, and we'll have the final draft in front of us at that time.
No.
Oh, you do not want you and
My
Bill to
understanding
take a
was
look
you
at
and
this?
somebody else from the fire commission were going to review it, and it was going to be submitted to the respective municipalities.
December 1st is when we start our next meetings, and next week is a holiday week. I thought that we were going to have Bill and John look at it.
I'm certainly willing to do that.
If that's your wishes, we can do it that way.
I mean,
And that way-
half of your municipality and half of ours is on the fire commission. So, it just seems like, we have to make some decisions. And historically, it's been difficult to make progress because it's always this back and forth, bring it back, go 2 or 3 more months, bring it back. So I would prefer that we get these things taken care of so we can address our staffing issues. So our chief can address the staffing issues that are taking place right now.
The only way we can address the staffing issues is by substantial funding increase. That's ultimately what would be necessary to address the staffing shortages. There are some structural changes that can be made within the department that the chief already has discretion over, or this might expand some opportunity for him, but ultimately it requires dollars. So at this point, without going to referendum, truly staffing shortages can't be addressed.
To get to the medium point, though, John, they can be addressed once we get this thing going, once we get this signed. And I guess I didn't understand what you said, Anissa. Do we not need to bring this in front of our bodies because we have so many people on this commission?
No, what I
No,
was
no.
saying is you need to, you know, Bill and John can work this out. Brooke doesn't seem to have any confusion about what you all discussed. You know, I think she's going to do just fine. And then you can look at it and you can submit it to the municipality so we can get this taken care of yet this year.
I give you permission, John, to handle it for us.
Okay, if we're all in agreement and comfortable with that, Bill and we can handle getting it taken
What's
care
Beth
of.
think? Is Beth on?
Yeah, Beth is on.
What's her opinion?
Yeah, certainly. I guess I'm just not understanding the entire goal of this, if this is the case. I don't understand how the acceptance of this addendum into our MOU is going to change our staffing structure. I would like a clarification of that, please. And I'm not in disagreement. I think Bill and John handling this is totally fine, but I don't understand the goal for that.
This is something that's keeping our chief from doing these kinds of things, is all I can say. There's no reason. There's just no reason not.
Otherwise, as of January 1, we switched to $15 an hour across the board, and then work out a staffing plan between Milton and Janesville. And hopefully between the two parties, we can work out staffing that keeps all of those shifts full, regardless of whether they are Milton, Janesville, and that works between the fire as well as the ambulance services and the increased hourly wages. And hopefully we're not coming up each day with different number of people who are willing to come to work, that we have an agreement, we can work with that.
But then, so this is, and please, I'm just trying to just continue this conversation a little bit further. So if this is in place and we already have our budget that we've passed, this is where I'm seeing a disconnect, is that if we are staffing using Janesville people, that will not work within our budget confines.
Also, our wages go up to $15 an hour, Beth. Some people were upset with them not getting to $15 an hour yet.
Yes, and I understand that, Teresa. And I know that the budget that we have worked through, essentially, is dependent upon still some other factors. But I see these as two different things, because if we have to staff with Janesville personnel, we still will not be able to operate within the confines of the budget that we have passed as a board. So that's where I'm seeing a major concern, is if we get to January, so please know that what I'm saying basically is that the passage of this addendum, in my mind, is not going to solve our staffing issues, because we will not have the budget for even that, is my main point.
Okay.
I would agree with you, Beth, that it doesn't solve the issue, but it clarifies the issue.
Yeah.
You know, and I think there's been some clarification already in terms of what's appeared in the newspaper about the, operational merger kind of thing. And I think, going back to that point of facilitating the merger, I think this is a step that says we're getting closer to that and that we're committed to it. So, it's not going to solve the staffing overnight. It may provide Ernie with a little more flexibility. That and the $15 may help. Let's hope that it does. But it's not a magic silver bullet.
Because from where I sit, and please know that this again is in no way, shape, or form any concern with entering into an agreement with Janesville as Janesville being Janesville. I still have some major reservations from my standpoint of what this looks like for us and how Milton will lose its identity. And so I'm going to be, I'll say it every month. I'm sorry, you will be very, very tired of me saying it, but I have some major reservations with what this looks like for our town of Milton and Milton Fire Department. And
Yeah,
so,
and I think that's appropriate and it's okay. And it's why, Teresa was talking about, can we do 6 months or, can we come back and, Brooke says, with all parties agreeing, we do it. And so essentially we get to try this and we get to try it in a little bit more robust fashion than the original MOU.
So just again, to just be very clear, I don't want this to pass because we're trying to think that this will be the placebo, or it will be a placebo, that it will solve all of our staffing issues. I don't want that to be the reason that we are passing this. I want us to be very clear and open and honest about what this looks like for us. And so, yes, I do think it's necessary because the sun is setting on our current MOU, and that it is necessary for us to take a look at this and to make some changes. But for us to say that this is going to solve our staffing issues, I don't think is appropriate.
I don't think anybody said that. I don't think anybody thinks that. I think it gives the chief I think it gives the chief some more flexibility in addressing the current staffing issues. So, and if you don't want to vote at it at the town of Milton, don't vote for it at the town of Milton. That's your.
I hear you, and I appreciate that, but I do feel it's necessary for me to have a voice in this venue as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just, you guys have to make a decision. Either you're gonna move forward and John and Bill are gonna look at it, or you just vote right now and say you're not gonna pass the addendum, because you don't waste everybody's time if this commission doesn't want to pass it.
So a lot of the concern stems around, we have yet to make a decision on which direction we want to go. And because the direction, either consolidation, going 100% in with consolidation is the direction we will entirely pursue, or going to the standalone. We talked about exploring the opportunity for consolidation and what that looks like, but we never voted on which direction we're actually going to go. So I guess some of the confusion may stem around this agreement. Almost seems like we're moving forward with a consolidation without having voted upon that consolidation as the form of structure the department's going to have going forward. So I can understand some of that confusion. I really can, because we have an emergency right now. We have a crisis that requires immediate action, and the chief needs additional duties to be flexible for him to be able to make decisions on without coming before the department or before coming to the commission. And I respect that. I think that should be within the operational purview of the chief. And some of the things that are already brought up tonight, such as budgetary concerns and capital concerns, and those are some concerns that we can work out. But overall, some of the feedback might be because we don't have a direction we're going yet. It's difficult to understand how this agreement is going to affect the future, in the long-term operations. Go ahead, Linda.
I thought that this was an addendum to an agreement for a temporary solution that we can, or possibly permanent solution, which obviously some of us are still thinking about what we need to be doing here, which is good because we all need to know, we all have to be settled with this. It just seems to me that, and first of all, John, I don't think that you need to be saying that we have a crisis going on here, because it's a big word and we don't. We have people to cover our department. So please don't say that like that. But I just feel like, we're talking about a functional operational addendum to try on a trial period. And we can sit here and we can go back and forth with this now that we've decided who is going to do what. We can go back and forth with this for another 6 months, but right now we need to just get moving on this. And we are going to be talking about our budget. And no, it's not going to be pleasant. And we all know that. But we are going to get through it. So with, I would like to make a motion that Brooke makes the corrections on the addendum and John and Bill review them and bring them back.
Motion by Linda.
I'll second that if the intent is by bringing them back, you mean to the respective municipalities. I think
Yes.
that's the intent, that we take it back to the city,
Yes,
back to the town.
yes, I'm sorry.
Okay, I will second that.
But just for clarification, Lynn, the crisis I'm referring to is our pandemic happening right now, the crisis that's happening nationwide. You know,
I
we are in a
know.
crisis. So, I mean, that is inevitable. We are in that situation. We have to deal with that. And that's part of how it's affecting our department as well. That all is part of the same crisis. But, all right, so we do have a motion on the floor to move ahead with the approval of the addendum, pending the corrections that Brooke will make on the line items that were discussed, with the reviewing of myself and Bill, to be recommended to municipalities for approval. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So seeing as this is going to be a memorandum, we're going to do a roll call, but first I'll call for discussion. Is there any more discussion on the agreement as presented to us with the corrections? All right, hearing none, we'll call for roll call vote. Bill, how do you vote?
Aye.
Teresa, how do you vote?
Aye.
Linda, how do you vote?
Aye.
Beth, how do you vote?
Aye.
Bill and Jim, how do you vote?
Aye.
And I vote aye, motion passes. So Bill, we'll set up a date when Brooke is available, hopefully in the next couple of days, if that works with you, Brooke.
That's
And
fine.
We'll work through that, probably a Zoom call, and
Yep.
we'll get it all taken care of. So,
Perfect.
I'll-
And I'm sorry, I have another board meeting to get to, so thank you. And John and Bill, I'll be talking with you soon. Thank you all.
okay, thank you,
Thank
Joe.
you. Happy
Thanks, Brooke.
Thanksgiving.
Thanks, Brooke.
Happy Thanksgiving to you all.
Aye.
All right, so we are going to move on to the next item on the agenda, discussion and possible action regarding an update with the township contracts. The biggest update I have for you is we do have one contract in town that went through and approved the levy, and that was Harmony. Harmony was our largest contributor, so we can expect to see Harmony on board next year with us, like we did this year, but with the additional expenses. We're
Yes,
still waiting.
Harmony has signed their contract and sent it back already.
Perfect. Thank you, Jenny. Awesome.
Okay.
So we're still waiting to hear back on the other three with the outcome, Lima, Koshkanon, and Johnstown. That may take another couple weeks simply because some of those meetings are at the end of this month and have yet to take place for the levy meetings. But otherwise, I have not heard anything negative. It sounded like things were going positively, and the conversations on their local board level before it goes to their town elector meeting was positive. There were some concerns, of course, but those concerns were kind of talked through. So barring any other new information that comes, we should be expecting a final verdict by December 1st. We should have a pretty good idea going forward into 2021 what the budget looks like. Dan, do you got any updates for us
Nope.
on the township contracts? Is there anything else you have? Any commissioners?
If we end up not getting one of those small towns, do we have another budget that we can look at? If
Yes, we do. The first budget that was proposed to us, there's the first one and the second one. So that would be the town of Milton would pick up the remainder up to that. I think it's 396,000 as opposed to the 40,000 less. We did talk about that. So that second option was less than the first option. So we approved the equalized value,
Mhm.
but the we have the ability to spend more in the town up to that 396,000, which was budgeted in the town in case something were to happen, that would be available. So,
Okay, great.
all right. So if anything else, we'll move on to the next one. Discussion and possible action regarding the purchase of a new ambulance. Chief, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I have Chief Maury is on the call too, and he is going to present on the proposed new ambulance since Chief Maury is the EMS officer. So Chief Maury, you want to take it from here?
Sure. Can everybody hear me?
It's good to see you too.
Okay, perfect. So what Chief has done is I don't remember what month, but we went forward in looking at replacing our ambulance. As you guys know, we try to replace our ambulance every 5 to 6 years. This year, we were up for replacing the ambulance. We sent out to 3 different companies. We received quotes from 2. The one that I am looking at presenting is basically mirroring the Janesville ambulances. It will be a 2021 F-150. We're going to go to the truck chassis rather than the van chassis just for durability. It's using the same company that we've used for last 3 to 4 ambulances. Hold on one moment. Okay, I'm working in Janesville, so I have to listen for calls. But basically, if we go with that company, baseline is right around $240,000. As we are part of the Rock County group, they have a $7,300 discount. By the time we add cots, miscellaneous equipment, and get everything up to snuff, it is around $284,999 delivered. Now, I don't have anything about trading in or trying to sell our backup ambulance outright. That's something we need to have a discussion in the future, but that's where we're sitting right now. I'd be happy to answer any questions moving forward.
What was the dollar amount again, Chief?
Total delivery was $284,999.
Is there any impact in a difference between the van and a truck chassis?
Your truck chassis is going to be more durable. We went to a 4-wheel drive diesel where we've had a rear-wheel drive, I believe it's a V10 gas. The diesels tend to run longer. The F-150 chassis tend to do better. It's a larger chassis, better braking power, just for the size of we call it the box, the patient compartment. So as far as crash ratings, they tend to do better, bigger wheelbases and things of that nature.
Okay, thank you.
And Pete, does that price also include stocking the drugs for the paramedics?
That, well, what we would do is, as you know, we take our primary ambulance, we move that into our reserve or our backup. So all of the medications, the cardiac monitors, oxygen, airway stuff just goes from our reserve ambulance into the new ambulance. Some of the stuff that we would be part of not moving over is like obviously the cot, different mounting equipment and that, but all your consumables will go from one ambulance to the other ambulance.
So the cots are specific to the chassis of that new chassis because they're the fixtures of the mounting to it. So the old ambulance will not fit the new cot for the new ambulance. You can't use
Yes.
them. Okay.
What we did last year, I believe it was last year, we added, the Stryker has a new load system, which is actually going to be crash tested. So they actually cut into the floor and they weld the mechanism, the cantilever mechanism right to the frame. So it's very hard to move it from the other. Our reserve ambulance does not have that right now. Still has the old manual one that it has the power lift, but it locks in, and it is technically not a crash rated for safety now.
So I guess going forward, we need to figure out if this is something our municipalities would be interested in borrowing for, or how we would want to allocate the funding. So I guess at this point, do we need to make a recommendation to municipalities to discover funding options to purchase this ambulance in 2021 and then amend our 2021 budget? Is that what we're looking to do tonight? So that's $142,499.50 per municipality currently. If we split that bill down the middle, and that would be our obligations if we took a loan out, either however you want to borrow against, or if 142,000 is just sitting in the bank somewhere. I don't think that's the case in town of Milton.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it's Ernie again. Yeah, we would like the commission to recommend to each municipality the I guess acquisition of the $142,000 so that we can replace our current frontline ambulance and then transfer that into a reserve and then bring in a newer up-to-date model.
And I guess one of the questions, looking at the balance sheet, there's that third line item on that balance sheet that I sent out the other day that says reserve. It's got like 81,000 and change in it. That was, if memory serves me correct, that was dollars from the sale of equipment a few years back.
Mhm.
I don't know if there would be a desire to utilize some or all of that to offset each municipality's contribution. That could obviously be something we look at, a month or two from now, once we kind of see how 2020 finishes up. We'll have a better idea, end of January, early February, probably at the February meeting, we'll have a better idea of what 2020 finished up. That's also another option, so it might not be the full 142.5 per municipality.
I remember you saying though, Dan, that likelihood of us going over budget a decent amount will be likely half of that reserve fund if the reserve fund is entirely used. If it was $40,000, $42,000 over budget.
Yeah, that's on just the wages. I don't know, and Chief could probably speak better to it. What I sent in that email is just the wages, but there are other line items that I don't know if they'll materialize or not. So that's why I said, depending on how the year shakes out, and we'll have a better idea here in 60 to 90 days.
I definitely would rather plan for 142 and borrow against it to go over our levy, because we can do that with our capital expenses, versus undershoot it and then end up having to pay out of pocket again if we didn't have enough money from that reserve account. So I guess I'd rather shoot high and present that number than shoot low, and just to cover ourselves for this year, because we still don't know what December is going to look like. If it might get worse and all of a sudden we have triple the amount of volume that normally we do, because it's getting cold, people are going back inside, and the spread of the virus may be a very real thing. So worse than it already is. So we really don't know. But I'm prepared to recommend to the municipalities that 142,000, and we'll see what we can do with coming up for funding. If it's possible to do in 2021, then the municipalities will review that and figure out if that's possible. If it's not, then it'll have to wait till the next year. It really will have to be dependent upon the outlook of our budgets. Go ahead, Linda.
I would like to make that motion.
Is there a second?
Sure, I'll second it, John.
Seconded by Jim, to recommend to the municipalities the purchase of a new ambulance in the costs associated, the estimated cost associated with $284,999 split between the municipalities. Any discussion on the motion?
Just want to say this is going to be a really heavy lift for the city of Milton in terms of where we are in the budget process. I don't have any problem with going back and stating the need for the ambulance and so on. But don't want to raise hopes here. It's going to be a hard lift.
And I agree, Bill. Even in the town, we're probably, just shy of making a good year for trying to get caught up, and we're kind of in that same boat. So we'll look and see what we can do. If we can, we can. If we can't accommodate, then maybe we wait till the following year.
I think we look and we try. What we know about 2022 is not pretty. Worse than 2021 in a lot of ways. So I think we can commit ourselves to seeing whether this is possible.
And if it comes down to it, this is something that we need to talk about in referendum, those additional expenses that, we're talking operational. If we also have to plan for capital referendum, then that's what we end up having to do, if that's the direction that we end up having to pursue. But
I will say, in terms of the referendum, John, unless you did a special election sometime in 2021, that ship has probably sailed, because you have to have the language set here in the next 45 to 60 days for any kind of referendum to happen in April of 21. And then any referendum that would pass, whether it was February, April, August, or November of 2022, would not take an effect until 2023.
Correct.
So,
okay. Well, that's something I'll include in the next agenda, having that discussion, and maybe we'll end up move the meeting up on December's agenda a little closer to the beginning of the month. We don't want to get in the way of the holidays, but also I think it's important that we do discuss referendum as a possibility in April, and prepare for it and at full strength, because either way, we need to figure out the situation going forward. And we'll first have to discuss the consolidation and standalone model, and then hopefully can proceed to referendum. And it's going to be a very busy meeting, so just be prepared. I'm going to send out as much information as I can for December's meeting, but we need to be prepared to start meeting these objectives that we need to come to a close on in 2020.
So John, it's Ernie. So if I can understand, it's like, so we're going to start having a conversation about what model we're going to go to, because we do need to make that decision. And then we're going to, I guess, have a vote to support the referendum, because if we don't, we're not going to make it. We're not.
Correct.
2 years
Yeah.
I'm worried. Okay. I'm really worried. And our crisis, staffing is a crisis today. It is now, and it's going to be, it's not going to get any better. So as soon as we can make our decisions and get that streamlining, the faster that I as chief can start to scope the organization towards whatever target you choose. And so it's good to hear that we're going to make these conversations, or have these conversations, but we do need to make some decisions.
And I don't want to make it feel like we're rushing the process, because we've had the same information for the past quite a few months, quite a few years. And now we just need to have the really difficult conversations and what our true objectives are in each municipality and the contracted towns, and ensuring that we're meeting those objectives.
Yes.
And I understand the town and the city may have slightly different objectives. We have different types of populations. We're more rural versus more urban, but at the end of the day, we still have a service to provide for our communities. And so, going forward, we'll talk about that. I don't want to get too off topic right now, but
because we need to make those decisions, because we got a fire station we have to build too. I mean, that's a big deal. We got to, that's still on the radar, and we still need to move forward on that. And what that looks like is going to be with our models. So it's good to hear that, and I'm looking forward to the conversation. Thank you.
All right. So let's plan for December. We're going to have a very busy December, and we'll have some conversations, and hopefully you'll have time to have conversations with your respective boards as well about these same things.
Did we vote on that motion?
What motion?
The motion.
Which one are you referring to?
Bill seconded, that you made, that I made.
Oh, I think I got off on a tangent, so I apologize.
Yeah.
So That was all in discussion. Now we can proceed to vote. All those in favor of recommending to the municipalities purchase of a new ambulance signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion passes. All right. So we'll recommend to municipalities review of purchase of a new ambulance. All right. The next item on the agenda is the grant opportunities. Go ahead,
John,
Beth.
can that information get vetted out to our municipalities so that our clerks have something to actually put on the agenda?
Yes, I will email both Inga and Marcy tonight. So
Thank you.
yes.
John, Leanne is our city clerk. Leanne
Oh,
Schrader.
Leanne, apologize. I always get to see Inga's face. I just.
You're muted, Inga.
There we go. It is Al that puts together the council packets, so you'd want to send it to him.
Al, all right.
Yep, Leanne doesn't put those together.
All right, so the next item on the agenda is the grant opportunities. I did forward over some COVID money that looked like it was available through FEMA. Chief Rhodes, did you have a chance to review that? And if so, did you have any input on what those grant opportunities look like? If the chief is still with us.
Yeah, I'm here, Mr. Chairman. I reviewed the documents, and I guess my understanding was that Inga was going to pursue the writing of the grant. So maybe I wasn't clear on that. Or somebody was going to write the grant.
I'm sorry, and I didn't receive a yes, go ahead with it, or what exactly we were applying for, or more information on it. I have the packet of information, but I don't exactly know what we're applying for.
So Inga, Attorney, how about I just call you tomorrow and we can work through that? How's that?
That sounds good. Yep.
Okay, very good.
All right, so it sounds like there is opportunity for us, so that's awesome to hear. So we'll hopefully that goes down and gets us a decent amount of money for the department. And please reach out to myself, Inga, and Chief if you'd like help. I want to be able to help in any way I can to help facilitate grant opportunities. I think that's good stuff. So
I just want to remind everybody that these are pretty competitive grants. So you're really lucky if you get a grant. Everybody in the fire service is competing for them. So
thank you, Inga and Chief. Any new business that we have to attend to tonight that's not on the agenda? I don't think so.
Oh,
Go ahead, Linda.
I had a question about the boot drive.
The what?
I guess it wasn't the boot drive. It's the letter drive. How did that go?
It's still ongoing. They would not have any. We get envelopes coming in for the next 2 months.
And you're getting a good response?
It's slow right now, but there is some donations coming in, yes.
I just have a quick question. Who's paying Inga for the grant writing?
It's a good question. I don't think that was discussed, and how much time it was going to take her. I think that's something that Chief Rhodes and Inga were going to discuss on what exactly was going to be done. And I guess, Chief, if that's something that needs to be brought back to let us know if there's going to be significant cost, or send out an email to everybody so we know what might be involved in that, that'd be good to know. Absolutely. I mean, if you think it's going to take 32 hours, it's going to take 2 weeks, whatever the time constraint might be.
yes, sir, we'll do.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. That's a good point, Mayor. All right, so fire chief support.
I try to be helpful more than being obstinate.
Fire chief support. Go ahead, Chief.
Okay, moving right along. So we had 110 calls last month, and that's a pretty high call volume for us. And so we are busy. We are responding to a lot of calls. We did do training, vent enter search, or vent enter isolate search training, which means we simulated a fire and fire crews enter a room that is not on fire without protection of a hose line to go in and search the areas that are not burned. So that's some really good training. We did driver's operating training and to drafting and for rural water supplies. Then obviously we do our daily ongoing training for EMS, et cetera, stuff like that. And then equipment familiarization for SCBAs, and we also did ground ladders. So we are doing training. Our personnel are wearing disposable N95s, which is the highest protection you can wear in the COVID environment. So we are adapting to the training environment, but we're very cautious how we do it. One slip up and we can really impact a lot of personnel, which we see that happen. So, it can happen. I just wanted to clarify the staffing crisis. There is a staffing crisis. We've got about 10 people that we can rely on to come to work for us. And certainly they do that, but there simply isn't enough part-time people that want to put their name on the calendar and the schedule. And so I'm concerned for the next 2 years trying to manage this and move this in the right direction. And that's a big important reason for the addendum, but to really functionally merge the organization so we can maximize every effort and coordinate every effort to take advantage of the efficiencies for staffing, equipment, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm also, encouraged by the conversation earlier, Mr. Chairman, about making the decision of consolidation or merger. I know a commissioner to a meeting ago, I forgot who asked me how morale would improve. And I said to make decisions. And so we really need the commission to make decisions. Professionally, I want you to make the right decision based on the information that you have and what is the best for the citizens of Milton. And I'm not too energized when I hear that, well, we're worried about our identity, et cetera. I'm worried about our citizens. I don't care what it says on the side of a fire truck. I don't care if it's a red truck, green truck, yellow truck. We've got to take assertive action to make sure that we are building a system that can serve our citizens. And I think it makes the best sense to work together more than not. So I hope that we can make decisions on the consolidation model, the merger model. The staffing challenge will be here for a couple of years, and I'm worried about it. I'm really worried about it. And I think I'm waiting for a phone call to say, hey, we didn't have enough people to fill the shift and to fill the entire shift. So that's a big concern. I'm glad to hear that Harmony has been able to come on board with us, which is they're going to be a great partner. And so we're looking forward to the new year. And that's really the end of my comments and my report, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the opportunity.
Great, appreciate it, Chief. Any comments for the Chief on his report? Go ahead, Linda.
I was just wondering, is everybody out of the COVID issues in our department?
No, we still have people that are quarantined. We've taken some really aggressive steps. We've basically removed the kitchen table because we found that people were eating within the 6 feet, dropping their mask, and it's a novel virus. It's very contagious. We have no immunity. And so we had to remove that. But we not only did that, we took a step further and put everybody in disposable N95 mask. And so it just takes one hot employee to come in, and we can quarantine a dozen people, and that will cripple us. I'm really concerned about the amount of hours that our full-time people are working. We've had to mandatorily require them to work. That is a significant disruption in their schedule, and I'm worried about their sleep. And, when they're not getting enough sleep, their acuity goes down, their ability to make good, quick decisions is definitely impacted. And so, Yeah, we still have people in COVID, really worried about it, taking some aggressive steps. And I hold my breath every day and hope I don't get a phone call or a text from Pete or Chris or Jeremy saying, hey, we had to quarantine more people. So good question, Linda.
All right, if there's no other comments for the chief, we'll move on to general president's report. Do we have?
Scott is not on tonight, but I can tell you what the association's been up to.
Yeah, go ahead.
Again, it was our seal drive went out, or letters out to the community asking for their support. We see them trickle in for the next couple months. Probably next month, Scott can give a report to let you know what's coming in. The other thing is our annual Christmas party is usually held in December. We are canceling it this year. And that's about it.
Okay, thank you, Jenny. All right, we'll move on to general items. Are there any general items that need to be brought up for next meeting or things that you want to put on the agenda that are not already being put on? So my intention is to put, hopefully make a decision on which direction we want to pursue, either going all in on the consolidation or deciding to go to a standalone model, and then trying to figure out a funding option, and more so along the lines, if we are going to go to referendum, if that'll kind of be one decision, and then come up with a dollar amount on how much that's going to require, based on the decision of the prior decision, which model we're going to pursue. And this is something that, like we've already talked about, has been a very long process. And, you know, if we can make a decision, this will be the December meeting will be the time to make it. And Dan, what was the time constraint on that again? Is it how long out before the election is required to have that posting? Do you remember?
70 days prior to the election. I can't remember. I don't know if it has to be approved by the election folks, or, you know, I don't know that whole piece. But I think from a practical standpoint, if you just work the calendar backwards and go 90 days prior to the election, so you have a little bit of wiggle room, that would put us in early January, because
Okay,
I believe the election's like April 6th or 7th or something.
So if we made a decision early December, that'd give us a few weeks, with Christmas mixed in there, really only 2 weeks, to come up with a financial impact of what those models would be, a little bit more detailed, thought through, to ensure that, you know, the expenses that we're looking to cover are covered. And then that would put us at, we'd have to make an early January meeting. And then.
And that's like with all the language, like,
right,
that appears on the ballot. And I don't know what other requirements there are. I believe from a municipality standpoint, we have to be able to say what the latest information we have, which I know for the city it'd be really easy to say what is like the impact on the tax rate,
right,
or the rate per $100,000 of assessed property, that sort of thing. Yeah.
So that would have to be sent back to the municipalities to be approved, which would also call for probably special meeting for it'd be ambitious, but it could be done. So, you know, is that of interest for the commission to pursue if I put that on the agenda?
And I think there's some homework that Chief Rhodes and I need to do, especially on the consolidation model, having some conversations with Max Gagg and their finance director to make sure that the numbers that we whipped up over the summer, you know, while we feel like they're pretty good, they weren't vetted with the Janesville folks. So we would need to vet those with the city of Janesville sooner than later. And I know Ernie's not going to speak on behalf of Max to say that it's 100% feasible, but I know we would try our hardest to get that done. Correct, Ernie?
You are correct, sir.
So if that's something that this body would like us to do, Chief Rhodes, myself, and Max, and perhaps Al and maybe even Mark Freitag might have a meeting to discuss some of that ahead of whenever the next commission meeting might be, so we could start that process.
I guess I was going to ask Mayor Welch and Chairman Brian Meyer if that conversation that they're currently having with Mark Freitag is kind of getting to a resting point, or if that's Mayor Welch, would you like to comment on that at all about kind of where we're at in that process, if that's something that is going to be continuing, or are we kind of getting to a point where it's getting enough information to where a decision can be made?
I think it should still continue, and a lot of it always hinges on where the Fire Commission stands on anything at any given moment. So I'm happy to continue those discussions, but I'm also hesitant if we bring it back, do all this work, and then just have the Fire Commission throw everything under the bus because they're not sure about anything. So I think there has to be some consensus of what way you want to go in general. I mean, what I'm hearing tonight is that, I don't know how far you want us to go with the discussions, I guess. It's not clear to me.
Fair.
You know what I'm saying?
That's fair. And some of that stems around the information that was asked. So we really didn't have a left and a right limit idea of what a consolidation even referred to. And so trying to figure out what a consolidation model even looks like to be able to compare it against. But then you're saying as well, if you're not interested in pursuing that consolidation model, why have further conversations trying to figure out what that model looks like if we're not even interested in going that direction? But it sounded like the joint municipality meeting that the conversation was they were interested in looking at that information, and each municipality said it was worth investing time into to figure out what that consolidation model looked like. And so I guess I understand your point.
And I did a lot of research and submitted a lot of information for all of you to review that I would hope that, that would have helped further everybody's understanding on what a model could look like, what best practices are in designing a model. So there's a level of comfort for us to move forward, understanding that we wouldn't want to, negotiate anything that didn't involve those best practices.
Bill, were you want to say something?
Well, I thought that the outcome was that because the consolidation with Janesville model was less expensive and seemed to have at least as high quality service, that we were going to make that our priority in terms of exploring that and determining whether or not that would work. And so I think that there was an expression, or at least I thought that there was an expression that was first choice. If we found that there were obstacles that could not be overcome, then the standalone was kind of our fallback position. Is that how the rest of you remember? See a few nods.
For the most part, I would say yes. I guess the part where it was a little different is it was a recommendation or approval of going forward in gathering more information about what a consolidation model looked like, if I remember correctly. So I would say yes, but we didn't officially make the decision that that's the model.
I think then that needs to be our item for the December meeting to
we better
to review that and vote it up and down, because we're not going to get to a referendum if we haven't agreed. So I think that needs to be December.
Yep.
That was my intent, to ensure that we made a concrete decision. And from, like I said, from the last meeting, it was let's get more information about what a consolidation looks like. Let's talk about some of the concerns. I don't think we've really hit a lot of time talking about those concerns. I think that's kind of happened outside information to be dissected and then brought back with a final kind of final
We can
model.
get together and make a decision, and it can't be back and forth, and have, 5 different meetings and then decide. It has to be a meeting and decide. Because
Absolutely.
we've discussed this for 10 years, if not more. Time to decide. We have to move forward.
Just quick, does Dan or Ernie have that list of concerns so they can be prepared for that conversation?
Some of
So,
those.
so if there's
should have been-
information that needs to be gathered, we have it all gathered,
Mhm.
so we can, so the commission can make a decision.
I wish Brian was here tonight because he was in those conversations with the mayor and with Administrator Freitag. I don't have that information directly in front of me, but they had created a list and had gone over that information. And so I guess they would be with those respective bodies.
Yeah, and the list was not, I mean, it was really a very general list, and that's why I shared all that research with all of you. So you could look at that and come back and you could say, well, here's some more things that we want you to address, or, here's the best practices and the evidence that we've read, and we want to make sure that, A, B, C, and D would be included. So I don't know if any of you have read that research, annotated it, made a list,
We gave Brian a list at the last meeting, I thought. Did you not get that?
I don't have a list except for from the, long before our first meeting.
So we were in the meeting that we had. I think we've checked off all the boxes, and that was what's a recommendation going forward, an updated addendum, and then we did not get any information from the commission on what their concerns are. We would like to have that. So I think we've done everything that in our meeting with the mayor and Brian and City Manager Freitag so far to start moving forward. So we would definitely like to know what your concerns would be.
So on an individual level, email that information over and ensure that those concerns are being sent. Okay.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great, John.
Yeah, I mean, I have to commend Ernie because everything that was on that list, it is done. I don't really have anything further to update because we had that list of recommendations. We've done all we can on that list, so we need another list.
Need less lists.
Mayor Welch, are you referring to the document that you sent out, I think in July, the 68-page document?
Yes, I did. There was a lot of research in there.
No, and I realize there is, but what list are you talking about, that specific document, or is there another document that we're supposed to be referring to as well?
No,
No,
I think, Beth, I think we're looking for what the what are the concerns or what are the questions that you need to know to clear up what consolidation looks like. That's the list we're talking about what's coming from the commission to us, so we can address those with you folks. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Immediately after we had our joint meeting, when we came back and met together, I believe at that time there was about, I don't know, 3 or 4 suggestions. I know I made some. One of them was the name, the Milton name. The other one was the staffing model that had been presented to us with our deputy chiefs and our administrative staff. And then there was the equipment, the sale of the equipment or the use of the equipment. I can't remember the last one. I don't know.
Was it about the budget, Linda? Or was it about approval of I thought it was something related to the budget, but that may be clarified in the addendum.
Oh, yeah. It was like, ensuring that expenses did not exceed our budget.
Right. That's what I was thinking.
So some of
Yeah.
the things, some of those have been addressed already in the addendum.
I can see that the need for having us individually respond, but I think if we can send it to each individual so that we just don't have a walking quorum, I think it would be necessary so that, because so much of our conversation needs to, and our thought process needs to happen outside of this meeting. I think it's important for us to know how each of us or the questions that we might have, because they may be very similar. So if we can each take some time to send that document out or the questions to each other, I think it would be in everybody's best interest so that we can further this conversation.
I think maybe what might work well is if everyone sends an email to Ernie or Dan or me even, I don't care either way, and then those questions are compiled into one document, and then you can sort through them, see where there's duplication, and put together a better, I don't know, FAQ document, for lack of a better term.
Okay, and what is our timeline?
When do you want to have the next meeting?
The next scheduled meeting is set for December 16th. I think
I have a feeling that this conversation is going to take some time.
Yeah.
So I'd almost recommend doing like a December 2nd, hash it all out, pick an approach, and then you can continue the conversation in more detail, I guess, on the 16th. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, Dan and Ernie, or anyone else, but
it'd be a 2-week time frame. So between now and December 2nd would be 2 weeks to submit questions that you have regarding the models presented to us, consolidation questions.
Well, I already have a meeting scheduled December 2nd, so as long as you guys don't care if I attend.
I just threw out the second as an option. Do you want to have a meeting in early December?
I would like to have a meeting. I was thinking of moving the meeting to the 9th, our normal scheduled meeting, move it up that 1 week. That way, if for some reason we have to get another meeting scheduled with each municipality, or for whatever reason have to get another fire commission meeting in right at the end of the month, that's still doable, and allow us time in January then to put together a proposal for the municipalities to approve in early January if we're going to do a referendum or not.
I mean, early January, if it's a true 90 days, then you have until January 6th, because the election's April 6th.
Yep.
So I'm concerned about the time frame we have here.
Inga, it's actually 70 days, but I don't
70
know.
days?
I was just saying 90 because I don't know what. I'm assuming that's final blessing from like the Wisconsin Elections Commission or something on each of the languages that each of our municipalities would have to put on our ballots. While they're going to be similar, they're going to be different because there's going to be a different number, dollar amount associated.
Can we schedule a
I just want to say, like, this is no way to do a referendum.
Well, and if time is running against us, so Bill, go ahead, and what were you going to say?
I was going to say, could we have a meeting on the 9th and then the 16th as the follow-up meeting?
That's a 1 week time frame in between, as long as we feel like that's enough time to accommodate information that needs to be prepared for that meeting. That's fine with me, because if the 9th is our objective for the meeting that is in question, I'm just a little confused here. So the meeting on the 2nd, I just thought that was going to be the 2nd was our deadline for the questions that need to be compiled for the chief and for Dan, and regarding specific questions about the consolidation. The meeting itself for the commission body to discuss those and to go through potentially a move for one of the two options was going to be on the 9th.
Do you want Is a week enough time to turn around an FAQs document?
Yeah, can we get the questions like within the next 7 days?
Like
Because
by
we have-
Thanksgiving?
this is-
I think, yeah, I think
a
that's
lot of work.
definitely, yeah, the 25th. I think that's fine. If everyone else is okay with giving, yeah, I mean, it's a week turnaround time to get questions in. That should be more than enough time.
Do you know when it is that Brian's getting back? Because I understood that he was going to be getting stuff from us. We've had this conversation before. I thought that he was also, that we were sending information to him and Anissa. So is Brian going to be back for these meetings, do you think, or?
I don't know. For December, yes. I know he's on vacation most of this month, so I'll have to find out with him what's actually his time frame when he's coming back. But
I thought he was flying in tonight. Is that what he said at the last meeting? I think he said he was coming in. His flight was supposed to come in late tonight.
Oh, then maybe that's why. Okay, that makes sense, because otherwise he would have joined us with his phone, or he would have, yeah, because he was able to make phone the meeting of the township via phone. So that may have been what it was.
How about if we go for Thursday the 3rd?
See, that's pushing it a little bit further back, and I think that was one of the concerns. The chief wanted as much prep time as possible to get those
No,
consolidated.
I'm sorry. I mean for a meeting to discuss
Oh, okay.
what exactly we're going to do.
December 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
Is that enough time for Dan and Ernie?
It's 2 weeks.
Between the 3rd and the 16th, is that what we're saying?
Between when you'll give them questions or concerns and that December 3rd proposed meeting date. I mean, if everyone knows what their questions and concerns are now, get it to them by tomorrow at 4:30, and then they can start working on it. But there's the holiday in there, so I don't know. I don't want to speak for Dan and Ernie.
I want to make sure Brian has enough time to
Schedule
kind of
work.
review everything as well, because he's not been in this meeting, so I don't think anything's going to be too new for him, but he might need a little time, a few days to respond. Right now his inbox is full, so I couldn't even send the addendum to him. So I kind of would like that information to be, give him a few days up till the 25th to be able to respond with any questions that he might have.
I mean, even if it's everyone send their questions by tomorrow at 4:30, everyone in this meeting, and then give Brian a couple extra days, I think that a lot of those questions are going to overlap, and then Dan and Ernie can get a start.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to need some more time as well. I'm working with COVID at my business, and so it's taking all I've got right now. So it'll be next week if possible.
So let's do the 25th. I think that's fair. That's 1 week time frame to finalize any questions that you have. That'll be your deadline.
And who do we send them to?
Chief Rhodes. Chief, are you comfortable with that? I should ask first.
Actually, Inga, do you have a way to pull all those together and put them on a spreadsheet?
Yeah, I can either do that. I can do a Word document
That'd be
and
perfect.
start filling
As
in
long
some
as you
text. Yeah.
decide who is paying Inga for her time. That's all I got to say. If you want us to bill for Inga's time, that's fine, but we cannot assume that city staff are the staff of the fire commission, because they're not.
So if Chief, if you would make it easier for them to be compiled prior to, then I'm fine accepting the questions. If that's a concern that you just want to make sure they're all streamlined to get together and then forwarding them over to you.
Yeah, that's fine. You can just send them to me. Just send them to me, and I'll work on it.
All right, so we'll make that the case then to kind of save Inga some time. I don't want to wrap her up in additional busy work.
I just didn't know if there was a software program that could compile all those together. So it sounds like it's going to be more manual. So I'll be able to do that.
You sure?
Yep.
Okay.
No problem.
All right, so the deadline is the 25th to finish any questions that you might have. And then let's talk about the next scheduled meeting date for the commission as a body. Does the 2nd of, well, we talked about this, so either the 2nd or the 9th of December would be my two recommended dates. What are your thoughts on those two dates?
And the mayor said that she has a meeting on December 2nd.
Oh,
I have a conflicting town meeting that night as well.
so that would put us at the 9th.
It's okay with me.
Or the
Then,
3rd was also put out. I don't know if that's an option.
Thursday's a good night.
Jim, Bill, Beth,
Third is okay with me too.
the 3rd, as long as the 3rd works within the time frame that the chief has.
We'll try to get it done. It just depends on how many questions. So I can tell you we'll bring what we have done to the 3rd, okay? Hopefully there won't be a bazillion questions and we can, you know, it's a not too much where we can turn around in a week or so.
Realistically, you got the 26th being Thanksgiving, and the 27th is usually a holiday, and the 28th is sometimes a carryover holiday, and it really puts your time frame, the 30th, the 1st, the 2nd, to get those questions finished. That's 3 days.
It's pretty tight.
That's very tight.
I think we got to manage the expectation on that. So
Okay.
maybe the 9th.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. Let's shoot for the 9th at this time. Let's put the 9th down at 6 p.m. Central Time. And be prepared for significant conversations. And if you need documents, please let me know. I have the documents of the original MOU if you do not have them, and any other supporting documents you may need for that meeting, because that will be an extensive conversation. Be prepared for that.
Mm-hmm.
Chief Rhodes, I can also help you get the questions put together. Not a problem.
Thanks, Jenny. All right. Is there any other general items that we need to cover before next meeting?
In the chat, the Courier editor, Becky, had put a message out. I don't know if we want to address that.
A better cost estimate?
And I think maybe that's referring to Dan and Ernie meeting with Max from Janesville to maybe dive a little deeper into the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing that's what it is, but Becky, feel free to unmute yourself if you want to say something. Oh, she told me she doesn't have a mic.
And just so I'm clear, so I can send Jenny the appropriate meeting links, December 9th at 6 p.m. and you're still meeting December 16th at 6 p.m.?
No, that would be in
Okay.
place with the meeting on the 16th. The only reason we would call for another meeting is if the business that happened on the 9th is not finished or needs further, whatever, fact finding, whatever happens in the 9th, as a fallback date if more business has to be handled.
Okay.
Would it be,
Jim, does
would
that
it be,
work with you? How does that look?
would it be wise to notice the meeting for the 16th and then cancel?
We don't have to notice it till after the meeting
Okay.
on the 9th, because we just have to give 24 hours notice.
Okay.
And you know how quick it is to make a Zoom meeting. Right, Bill?
Yeah, right.
All right, so if there's no other information to discuss tonight, our next meeting date is the 9th at 6 p.m. It'll be another Zoom virtual meeting.
All right.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion by Bill, seconded by Teresa to adjourn tonight's meeting. All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.